Let's read the problem, and as we read the problem, let's try to write an equation that summarizes and represents the situation that we're facing in the problem. And we're going to realize that we're going to come up with two different possible interpretations of the problem. So let's start. Twice a number n, meaning 2 times n, increased by 11 plus 11 is the same as, is equal to, the number is equal to 6 times the number, 6 times n, decreased minus 9. What is the value of n? So we have this equation, and the only thing we need to do is solve for n. Okay, this is equation 1. But you know what? You can also understand this problem in the following way. Equation 2. Twice a number n, meaning 2 times n, same thing, increased by 11 plus 11, same thing, is the same as, equals to, same thing for now. 6 times, now we can understand it's 6 times what? The number decreased by 9. It's 6 times the number decreased by 9. So you can see the difference between the two equations, because in the first equation we multiply 6 times the number, but here in the second equation we don't multiply 6 times the number, we multiply 6 times the number minus 9. So it's two different equations, and therefore we're going to find two different values. So let's solve both equations. Let's write the first equation, which is 2 times n plus 11 equals 6 times n minus 9. And now let's solve it. This is exactly the same as 2n plus 11 equals 6n minus 9. I just rewrote it in order to not to see the dot in the middle of the number and the letter. Now, okay, what we're going to do is subtract 2n from both sides of the equation in order to have 11 equals 6n minus 9 minus 2n. And this gives us that 11 is equal to, what is 6n minus 2n? It's simply equal to 4n. So 4n minus 9. And now let's add 9 to both sides of the equation in order to have that 11 plus 9 equals 4n, which means that, what is 11 plus 9? It's 20. 20 equals 4n. Now let's divide by 4, and look at this, divide by 4 both sides of the equation, and we get that n by himself is equal to 20 divided by 4, which is 5. So n equals 5 is the answer to the first equation, to the first interpretation of the problem. Now let's write the second interpretation of the problem, which was 2n plus 11 equals 6 times n minus 9. And now let's try to solve for n. So we have 2n plus 11 is equal to 6 times n minus 6 times 9. Good. So it's 2n plus 11 equals 6n. What is 6 times 9? It's 54. Okay, let's group the n's together by subtracting 2n from both sides, just as in the previous example. So we're going to have that 11 is equal to 6n minus 54 minus 2n, which means that 11 is equal to 6n minus 2n is 4n minus 54. Now let's add 54 to both sides of the equation in order to have 11 plus 54 equals to 4n. And now, what is 11 plus 54? It's simply equal to 65. 65 equals 4n. And now let's divide by 4 both sides of the equation. So divide by 4, divide by 4. The 4's cancel out to give us n by himself. And then is equal to 65 over 4. And if you're curious about what is 65 over 4, then you just take the calculator and you put 65 divided by 4, and you're going to realize that it is equal to 16.25. So n is equal to 16.25 or equal to 65 over 4, whatever you prefer. So here we have the answer to the second equation. Now you might ask yourselves, okay, we found two different n's for the same problem. Which one is the correct one? So the answer to that question is, it depends on how you interpreted the problem. If you interpreted the problem so as to have the first equation, then it's the first solution, meaning n equals 5. And if you interpreted the problem so as to have the second equation, then it's the second answer, which is n equals 16.25 or n equals 65 over 4.